Your offer's finally been accepted and you get the great news that you're in escrow. But what does that mean? Today, we're going to go through the basic elements of an escrow and who all is involved. Hi, my name is Tyree Schaefer, and today we're going to review the basics of what an escrow is. The word escrow itself refers to any document being kept in the custody of a third party that only takes effect once all of the specified conditions have been met. In the case of your home purchase, this is going to be the purchase contract. So being an escrow basically refers to all the steps you have to take after signing your purchase contract to get ownership of your home officially. Now the escrow process gets started before you even go into escrow because the buyer and the seller have to agree on an escrow holder as part of the purchase contract. The escrow holder is going to be a third party who's in charge of safeguarding the documents and all the funds they receive. As you can tell, they have an important job, so how do you pick one? In California, there are three main types of escrow holders, and depending on what part of the state you're in, one is probably going to be more customary than the others. First, there are title insurance companies. If you're in Northern California, this is probably going to be the escrow holder for most of the escrows in the area. These title insurance companies have separate departments for both their title insurance and for escrow, so they'll be able to handle both aspects of that for your transaction. Real estate brokers can also be escrow holders, but only in certain situations. Since they're associated with a specific real estate company, they can only be an escrow holder if one of their agents is working with the client in that transaction. And due to potential conflicts of interest, if one of their agents isn't involved in the transaction, then they can't be an escrow holder for it. The third type of escrow holder in California is an independent escrow company, and they deal with a large portion of the escrows in Southern California. The only service that these companies specialize in is escrow, so they're expected to be experts and are held to the highest legal standards. Because they're responsible for holding and releasing so much money, they're required to have a high level of liquid assets, and they're required to hold a bond with the Escrow Agents Fidelity Corporation, which is a nonprofit organization meant to protect them against theft and fraud. Each of these escrow holders specialize in a different industry, so they're each regulated by a different government agency. Title insurance companies are regulated by the Department of Insurance, real estate brokers are regulated by the Department of Real Estate, and independent escrow companies are regulated by the Department of Business Oversight. If any legal questions came up about any of these escrow holders' practices, these would be the agencies who would investigate them and bring about any potential action. Once you've picked your escrow holder, there are a few duties and responsibilities that they'll have throughout the escrow. First, they'll be in charge of creating the escrow instructions. These are the guidelines for events and conditions that have to take place before the escrow holder is authorized to release any funds or documents. This includes the length of the escrow and making sure that any contingencies are released on time. These instructions are based off of the purchase contract, which the buyer and seller are going to agree to beforehand. There'll also be a neutral depository for your money and documents with no interest in any of the items that they receive or hold onto. And they have a fiduciary role, which means that they have to prioritize the best interests of the main parties involved in the transaction. And they have to do this in a way that's impartial to both sides. Another duty they have is a clear and concise accounting of all funds that are going to be involved in the transfer process. As you know, there could be hundreds of thousands or even millions of dollars at stake in a transaction, so they need to know where every dollar is at any given time. Also, escrow makes sure that all of the contract's conditions are satisfied before recording the deed or releasing any money to any parties. And finally, the escrow holders are responsible for arranging the safe delivery of the funds and the documents to the correct recipients as soon as escrow closes. Now that we know who escrow holders are and what they do, let's go over who else is a party to the escrow. The most important parties to an escrow are the principals. The principals are the people who essentially the escrow holder is working for. And these are also the people whose directions are being followed by the escrow holder when they make the escrow instructions. Most commonly, the principals to an escrow are going to be the buyer and the seller. But this can also be a borrower and a lender in a refinance, a lessor and a lessee in a lease agreement, or a vendor and a vendee in a land contract. Whoever the main parties are that are going to be exchanging funds and documents are going to be the principals. In addition to the principals, there are several other parties to an escrow, and this is basically everyone else who's involved in the process. Real estate agents, lawyers, HOAs, title insurance reps, lenders, anyone who helps with the transaction is going to be another party to the escrow. They're all going to have a hand in making sure that your transaction is processed smoothly and that your purchase can be completed on time. Thank you for watching, and please like this video if you found it helpful, and stay tuned and subscribe to the channel for my next video on a more detailed timeline of an escrow. As always, feel free to reach out to me through Instagram or email if you have any further questions, and I'll catch you in the next video.